It's certainly a strange time in the eyes of many to be dropping the restrictions and social distancing rules in the UK, as you say. Boris Johnson himself, the Prime Minister, is now in isolation, as is the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak. That's because they had meetings on Friday with Sajid Javid, the new health minister, and he has just tested positive and is in isolation himself. So if some people are calling it Freedom Day, rather strangely, it's certainly not going to look like Freedom Day for those three who are all finding themselves in isolation. And Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak initially said that they weren't going to isolate anyway. They were going to take part in an NHS pilot study where they would test every day but keep on working. Of course, there was a backlash against that in the country because it seemed remarkably like there was one rule for the whole nation and another for politicians in power who were making the rules in the first place. So within 3 hours, they switched back, made a U-turn and agreed that they would actually isolate. But this illustrates really what's going to be so difficult about this period of unlocking, because if people are being asked to go back to normal life, not even being obliged to wear face masks in public places, then that means they're going to have to be relied on to isolate when they do get contacted by the NHS tracing operation, which is going to get in touch with them if they've been in contact with someone who tests positive. And if even the Prime Minister and the Chancellor of the Exchequer were tempted not to do so, we can only wonder how the rest of the nation is going to feel if they get this message from the app run by the NHS saying that they need to isolate until their quarantine period is over, just in case. It seems obvious that there is going to be an increase in cases, which is still going up anyway, and that this in turn, the fear is, could cause more serious illness and more deaths as the Delta variant is still rife here.
Just briefly, Jonathan, less than a minute that we have left here now. How political is this issue now around the restrictions and the coronavirus?
Well, partly it's political, and within the Conservative Party, there's some pressure from certain quarters of the party on the Prime Minister to do this. But also, I think there's a sense among many in the nation that the economy has suffered so enormously. For example, nightclubs and pubs and restaurants want to get back to normal with full occupancy, no rules like table service only in bars. And that's also putting pressure on the government to try and act so that they can perhaps loosen up these rules and let people return to some form of normal life. Of course, with the hope that it doesn't have a knock-on effect on people's health and the health service.